The massive hall was silent as the last vote came in. Jake Morrison stood alone in the center of the room, surrounded by hundreds of alien creatures. Each one had just voted on the same question. What should happen to humanity? The answer was clear. Every single species in the Galactic Council had voted yes. Earth would become a slave planet. Jake felt his hands shake, but he kept his face calm. He had been Earth's representative for 2 years. He had hoped that humans could join the galaxy as friends. That dream was now dead. The aliens saw humans as dangerous animals that needed to be controlled. A tall insect-like creature stepped forward. His name was Thelnix, and he spoke for the Zentari people. When he talked, a small device translated his clicking sounds into words Jake could understand. "Your species breeds too fast," Thelnix said. His voice sounded cold through the translator. "You fight wars among yourselves. You destroy your own planet for resources. The Council has decided that humans need masters to guide them. You will work for us. Your people will be sent across the galaxy to serve the civilized races." Standing next to Jake was Amy Collins. She had worked as Earth's diplomat, always believing that peace was possible. Now she looked at the aliens with hard eyes. Her fists were tight at her sides. "You are making a huge mistake," Jake said loudly. His voice carried across the enormous room. "You judge us by our past, not our future. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes. But we have also shown kindness. We have shown that we can learn and grow. We came here in peace." The aliens made sounds of disagreement. A floating jellyfish creature named Velshara glowed with bright colors. The translator said she was laughing at him. "Your words mean nothing, human," Velshara said. "The decision is final. We will take your planet. Your people will be divided up and sent to work on our worlds. You should be happy we are letting your species live at all. Some of us voted to destroy Earth completely." The room filled with sounds of agreement. Aliens who had never talked to each other before all agreed on one thing. Humans were too dangerous to be free. Giant armored guards came to take Jake and Amy away. These soldiers worked for the Council, and their job was to enforce the laws. As they walked through the bright hallways of the space station, Amy finally spoke. "They will regret this," she said quietly. Jake looked at her. "What do you mean?" "They think they know us," Amy said. Her green eyes were full of determination. "They have watched us for 50 years. They have studied our history and our wars. But they miss the most important thing about humans." "What is that?" "We do not break easily. We bend and we adapt, and then we come back stronger. They are about to learn that lesson the hard way." Back on Earth, the news spread everywhere. President Helen Carter spoke to the world from Washington. Her face was serious, but she looked strong. Every person on Earth got the same message. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, not with weapons, but with chains. Deep underground in the Rocky Mountains, General Paul Dixon gathered a team. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and smart people from every field came together in a secret room. Earth's government had always planned for this. Even during the peaceful years, they had prepared for the day when the aliens might turn against them. "They think we are primitive," General Dixon said to the group. "They think our technology is hundreds of years behind theirs. They are partly right. But they do not understand one thing. When humans are desperate, we become very creative. They just gave us a reason to be more creative than ever before." A woman named Dr. Lisa Chen stepped forward. She was a scientist who had been studying alien technology in secret for years. Her computer screen showed complex drawings and numbers. "We have been copying their technology," she explained. "Their engines, their shields, their weapons. We have learned enough to know their weak points. But more importantly, we have created something they do not have." "What is that?" asked Captain Frank Miller. He was a pilot with many medals. "Unpredictability," Dr. Chen said with a small smile. "Their technology is very efficient and very logical. But that is also its weakness. They cannot imagine solutions that are different from what they know. We can." The plan started to form. Earth would pretend to obey the Council, while secretly preparing to fight back. Humans would volunteer to be workers and would spread across the galaxy. But these workers would be more than servants. They would be spies and soldiers waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, Jake and Amy were being prepared to be sent away. The Council separated them because they believed that breaking human connections would make them easier to control. Jake was sent to work in mines on the edge of the galaxy. Amy was sent to be a servant on an alien homeworld. As Jake got on the transport ship with other captured humans, he saw fear on some faces. and anger on others. He stood up and spoke to them, keeping his voice low so the guards would not hear. "Remember who you are," he said. "Remember where you come from. They can take away our freedom, but they cannot take away our humanity. Stay strong. Stay smart. Our time will come." The ship took off, carrying its human cargo toward the stars. But Earth was already moving. They activated a network of secret agents and resistance groups that had been set up years ago, when humans first suspected the galaxy might turn against them. Amy arrived on the Kormathi homeworld. She was assigned to work in the house of an important official named Prexthar. The Kormathi people thought they were the most cultured and refined species in the galaxy. They valued art and philosophy. To them, humans were just smart animals. Amy played her role perfectly. She kept quiet, did her work, and listened to everything. The Kormathi were careless with their words around her. They talked about military plans, political alliances, and strategic information as if she was not even there. At night, in the tiny room she shared with 3 other human workers, Amy wrote down everything she learned. She had a hidden communication device that sent encrypted messages back to Earth. The Council did not know this network existed. All across the galaxy, thousands of other humans were doing the same thing. In the mines, Jake made friends with workers from many different species. He learned their languages and their problems. He discovered that humanity was not the first species the Council had enslaved. Others had suffered the same fate and no one had helped them. "The Council fears change," said a reptile-like alien named Crix. He had been working in the mines for 40 years. "They fear any species that might challenge their power. Your people are just the latest victims." "But you outnumber them," Jake said. "All the slave species together could defeat the Council." Crix's eyes looked sad and tired. "We are scattered across too many worlds. We have no unity. We have no hope." "Then maybe it is time someone gave you hope," Jake replied. Months went by. The Council congratulated themselves. They thought they had successfully enslaved humanity. Earth's people had been spread out across the galaxy. Work quotas were being met. The dangerous humans had been contained. They had no idea that humans were planning something. They had no idea that the match had already been lit. In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Chen finished her work. The weapon they had been building was ready. It was not a bomb or a missile. It was something that would hurt the Council much more. "We are calling it the Cascade Protocol," she explained to General Dixon. "It is a computer virus, but for their whole network. It targets the quantum system that connects every Council world. When we turn it on, their ships will not fly, their shields will not work, their communications will go dark. We will have about 72 hours before they can fix it." 72 hours to do what? The General asked. "To free every slave species in the galaxy," Dr. Chen said. "To show the Council that humanity will not accept slavery. And to prove that we are not the primitive savages they think we are." The message went out through the secret network. Every human scattered across the galaxy received the same coded message. 3 simple words that would change everything. Time to rise. The Cascade Protocol activated at exactly midnight by Galactic time. Across 300 star systems, every piece of Council technology simply stopped working. Ships floating in space suddenly had no power. Security systems failed. Communication networks went completely silent. The carefully organized galactic civilization collapsed in seconds. On the Kormathi homeworld, Amy moved fast. She had already planned everything with the other human workers and some friendly aliens. When the power went out, they acted. They did not use violence. They used smart planning. They took control of communication centers, transport stations, and computer systems. Within just a few hours, they controlled the planet's most important facilities. Prexthar, who used to be Amy's master, found himself facing her in his own command room. His body glowed with confusion and anger. "You are slaves," he said. His translator made his emotional voice sound mechanical. "You are beneath us." "How did you do this?" "That was your first mistake," Amy replied in a calm voice. "You thought that chains could hold us. You thought that being quiet meant we were defeated. But humans believe that all beings should be free and equal. You should have listened to us." All across the galaxy, the same thing was happening. Jake led a rebellion at the mining colonies, freeing not just humans but thousands of enslaved beings from dozens of different species. The Vexler, the Threnni, the Morphians, and many others joined the fight. Their anger from decades of slavery finally had a purpose. The Zentari military tried to fight back, but their weapons did not work without technology. Human creativity had made everyone equal, and now the slaves had the numbers to win. On Earth, President Carter spoke to the entire galaxy. Her message was broadcast on every communication channel that humans had captured. Her words appeared on screens across hundreds of worlds. "People of the galaxy," she began. Her voice was steady and strong. "For too long, the Council has ruled through fear and slavery. They have judged species not by what they could become, but by their differences. They have enslaved those they thought were inferior. Today, humanity says this ends now. We did not start this war. We came to the galaxy looking for friendship. We were given chains instead. But we do not want revenge. We want justice. We are offering freedom to every enslaved species. We are offering the Council a choice. Destroy your unfair government. Create a real democracy where every species has a voice. End slavery forever. Do this and we will help you rebuild. Refuse and we will tear down your empire piece by piece." The Council tried to fight back quickly. They attempted to gather their military forces to crush the rebellion before it could spread. But their fleets could not fly. Their soldiers could not communicate. And the enslaved species they had controlled for centuries were rising up on every world. Ambassador Thelnix of the Zentari found himself trapped in a ship that had no power. He watched helplessly as his empire fell apart. He managed to send one message to Jake Morrison, who was now leading the rebellion from the freed mining colony. "You have doomed us all," Thelnix's message said. "Without the Council's order, the galaxy will fall into chaos. Species will fight each other. Civilization will end." Jake's answer was short and simple. "Then help us build something better." The 72-hour window was running out. Dr. Chen's team had warned that the Council's experts would eventually find a way to fix the Cascade Protocol. But in those 3 days, everything had changed. General Dixon worked with new alliances across the galaxy. Species that had never spoken to each other were now working together, united because they all knew what slavery felt like. The Vexler knew about Council military tactics. The Threni understood biological technology. The Morphians were skilled at diplomacy. And humans had adaptability and refused to give up. On the Council station, a group of human commandos led by Captain Frank Miller had taken control. They had captured the Council members not to hurt them, but to put them on trial for their crimes. As power started to return to Council systems, the restored communication showed a galaxy that had completely changed. More than half of the Council's member species had joined the rebellion. Others stayed neutral, waiting to see what would happen. Only a few species remained loyal to the old Council, and even they were thinking about changing sides. In the Council chamber where humanity had been sentenced to slavery, a new meeting took place. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered together, but this time there were no special seats putting some above others. Everyone stood on equal ground. Jake Morrison, back from the mining colonies, stood before them. He was tired, and his uniform was dirty and torn, but his eyes were full of purpose. "We did not want this war," he said. "We wanted to be part of your civilization. We wanted to learn from you and share with you. You chose to enslave us instead. Now you have seen what humanity can do when you threaten our freedom. But here is what makes us different from you," Jake continued. "We do not want to dominate anyone. We do not want revenge. We want justice. Every species here has complaints. Every species here has been hurt by the Council's rules, whether as slaves or masters. We suggest something new, a new galactic assembly where every species has one vote, no matter their size or power, where slavery is ended forever, where problems are solved through talking, not orders. Some of you think this will not work. You think species are too different. But humans have a history of bringing people together. We have built nations from hundreds of cultures. We have learned to find common ground even when we disagree. We can help you do the same. But first, the old Council must stand trial. Their crimes must be recognized. Justice must happen. Only then can we move forward together." The chamber erupted with debate. Some species agreed right away. Others protested that humanity had no right to make demands. Still others asked practical questions about how this new system would work. Amy Collins, who had been helping organize the political changes, stepped forward with her computer tablet. "We have already written a temporary charter," she said. "It is based on human ideas of democracy, but changed to work on a galactic scale. It includes protections for each species' independence, plans for mutual defense, and a justice system that treats all beings equally. We are not saying it is perfect. We are saying it as a start. The debate went on for days. During that time, the old council members were officially charged with crimes against living beings. The trials were public and broadcast across the galaxy. Species after species came forward to tell stories about the council's abuses. Thelnix of the Zentari was one of those who stood trial, but something unexpected happened. As he listened to the testimonies, as he heard about the suffering his decisions had caused, something changed inside him. When it was his turn to speak, he surprised everyone. "I have no defense," he said quietly. "I believed we were bringing order to a chaotic galaxy. I believed that some species needed to be controlled for everyone's good. I was wrong. Good things cannot be built on the suffering of others. I accept whatever punishment this assembly decides." Not all council members admitted they were wrong. Some stayed defiant until the end, but their voices were drowned out by the wave of change sweeping across the galaxy. The Galactic Assembly was officially established 6 months after the uprising. Its first action was to abolish all forms of slavery and forced work. Its second action was to establish the Reconciliation Commission, which would help heal the wounds between species. Jake Morrison was offered a job as humanity's first ambassador to the new assembly. He accepted, with Amy Collins as his assistant. Together they worked to build bridges between species that had been enemies for centuries. General Dixon retired, satisfied that Earth was safe. Dr. Chen received awards from both Earth and the galaxy for her work on the Cascade Protocol, which was now being used as a defensive system protecting all member species. Captain Frank Miller returned to Earth as a hero, though he said he was just doing his job. President Carter finished her time as president, then joined the Reconciliation Commission, using her experience to help other species create democratic governments. But the work was far from finished. Species that had been slaves for generations struggled to rebuild their societies. Species that had been masters dealt with guilt and resentment. Old conflicts came back and new ones appeared. Yet slowly and painfully the galaxy began to change. The Vexlor, freed from slavery, became some of humanity's closest friends. Their shared experience of being oppressed created a bond that went beyond biological differences. The Kormathi, humbled by their loss of power, became teachers and artists, sharing their culture rather than forcing it on others. Even the Zentari found a new purpose. Under new leadership, they transformed their mining operations into cooperative businesses, sharing the profits with the workers instead of exploiting them. 5 years after the uprising, Ambassador Jake Morrison stood in the assembly chamber, preparing to give a speech marking the anniversary. The chamber was packed with representatives from over 400 species, more than had ever been part of the old council. 5 years ago, we were told we were too dangerous to be free, Jake began. Too primitive, too aggressive, too unpredictable. The council was right about one thing. We are unpredictable.